Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
On good, Monday, Monday, talking about wrestling.
Yeah, we're not gonna do a lot of newsy type things. We got impacts against all odds to talk about. We're gonna do a preview on that, and then we're gonna do a review on the New Japan show Dominion. I caught some of it, not all of it. We're also going to talk about the new Bullet Club as it forms. They've added some new members. And then we're going to talk about the Crockett Cup. I haven't seen any of that yet, but the results are interesting, so we got to talk about it. Marcus, though, before we get into it, how was your weekend? Did you have any fun?
Yeah, just it kept pretty tame, pretty lame, but called Watch Spider Verse, Cross the Spider Verse. That was fantastic. Uh, like I said, I did that little binge of the main E documentaries, WWE. That was good. So just try to keep it low key. I'm usually a low key guy on the weekends unless I plan on doing something big. What about you?
Quiet weekend for me. We just hung out, had some fun, went to the zoo.
Nice.
Can't really complain about it. That being said, yeah, we got a lot of wrestling to talk about today, so let's hop on into it. First wrestling event of note that we're going to talk about is the upcoming Against All Odds show. That is happening this Friday, and then they're going to do a TV taping on Saturday. I'm going to be going to it, so it's my first wrestling show since the last time I went to Impact, actually, which was, oh shit, was it that long ago? It couldn't have been. Was it 2013? Is that really my last wrestling show? Shit. Shit. That's lame. The last time I went, they Impact came to Cleveland and they did Sting versus Bully Ray on the second set of tapings because they did like 2 nights of tapings back to back. And if Sting lost, he couldn't challenge for the world title as long as Bully Ray was, or like he couldn't challenge for another world title ever again. Some dumbass stipulation like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I saw that one. That was pretty cool. That was one of the few times I got to see Sting live, so kudos. I worked a few WWE shows after that, I'm sure. But I didn't do anything else. Didn't see anything else live. I was supposed to go in 2020 when they were coming to Columbus. It was going to be April of 2020 or May of 2020. And I bought my tickets in January of 2020. And we were going to go with, like, it was me and Switch, we were going to go. And I don't know if you were around in 2020, but some minor things happened that delayed it from transpiring. So, yeah. So I'm excited to go back, or at least not go back, but actually check the shot. And it's a solid show. I don't know what the TV tapings are going to be like, but they have 9 matches announced for the card, and the big storylines heading into it are Shelley versus Macklin for the world title. Saban tries to reclaim the X Division title for the 9th time, and then Bully Ray is going to try to win the 8-4-1 and go on to Slammiversary to take on Macklin for the world title, assuming Macklin beats Shelley. With that said, let's talk about the card, because I think it's a very solid card considering it's a premium live event. Ugh. I hate that name, but I do like the PLEs. The PLEs, that's grown on me. It's better than the PPVs, right? You know? Pay-per-view, better than premium live event. PPV, not as good as PLE. So it's like, give and take. The first match we're going to talk about is Against All Odds is a 6-man tag match. It's the Ohio Street Fight, ironically enough, in Ohio. The design, Cody Deaner, Big Con, and Angels taking on OVE, Sammy Callahan, Jake Christian, Madman Fulton. I don't know how long Christ or Fulton are going to be around for. This feels like an oddly opportune time to bring back Christ and Fulton because they're from Ohio. They'll be in Ohio. There it is. That said, I am kind of liking this feud because even though I don't think the design is well built, mostly because while Angels does have some supporters from his AEW days, I don't think many people are repping for Big Con, who played Connor in the Ascension. Who played Jesus Christ? Who am I? He was Connor in the Ascension with Victor, and whoever Bram was in the Ascension back in the day. Do you remember what Bram's name was in the Ascension? Because it was Connor and Victor were the second installment, but it was Connor and who?
Yeah, I forgot about because I forgot about that was the. I do not remember his name because I forgot about that was the second rendition of that.
Kind of makes you think, you know?
Cause it almost reminds me of when Jindrak was in Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, no, we just gonna go forward like that never happened.
Maybe it was just Latimer. Let's see. The Ascension that started. Okay, so the Ascension stable, yikes, included Cameron, Connor O'Brien, Tito Colon, and Raquel Diaz, who was Sol Guerrero, or is Sol Guerrero. And then Cameron and Colon had their tag shots. By October, these was no longer associated with Rodriguez. As video packages promoting the Ascension as new supernatural dark characters only featured the other 4 Ascension members. By the end of November, the Ascension had all but disbanded. Cameron continued to use the Ascension gimmick during his appearances. Cameron went on to 3-month singles. I think so. It was Cameron. So it was Connor and Cameron, I guess. Does that make sense? I hope. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Hey, isn't that his real name, Cameron?
Maybe? Is it? No, it's Tom Latimer. So Cameron is his NXT name. Let's see. We're gonna search this real fast. Cameron. Yeah, so it's Connor and Cameron. That's who it was. Kenneth Cameron and Connor O'Brien. Ugh. Ugh. It's crazy to think that Tito Colon, who I think is Primo, was in this group at one point. That's wild. Or no, it's Orlando, sorry. Orlando Colon. Is he still in the WWE? No, he got released in 01. No, he got released in 19. Never mind. Jesus. Where have you been? No, he got released in 2020. I don't know what year. I don't know. Just shut up. It doesn't matter. Marcus, who do you think's going over in the OVE street fight?
I'm going with the home team of Callahan and Bowden and the Christ.
Do you think the OVE crew is sticking around?
If they do, I can't see it being too long term because I would imagine that Callahan would want to get back to business and business being, world title aspirations. Because it's not like it's a triple. Thankfully they don't have a 6-man title. So
No, I'm of the mindset that maybe some companies should retire the 2-man and adopt a 3-man tag title set. Because I think a team should be more than 2 people. But I also am very much ingrained in the ideology of a 2-man tag team in wrestling. So like, I'm conflated. I liked what Lucha Underground did, but I don't know if it's for everyone. I don't know if I want to see a 6-man and a 2-man tag titles though. Like that's a lot for Ring of Honor. It makes more sense with AEW considering the size of the roster and even New Japan, but not so much with Ring of Honor. That said, I think the 6-man tag title is the perfect tag team title for legacy wrestlers like your Stings and your Hiroshi Tanahashis because it gives them another a title, another accolade to boost up who they are, and it also gives them the ability to rub shoulders with some guys, even if they may be more limited in the ring. So, I see the value in them. I agree with you though. I think OVE goes over, and I think Jake Chris may stick around. I don't know if Madman Fulton will. Then we have a tag team match between the Knockouts. It's Trinity and Deanna Purrazzo taking on Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans with Jay Vidal. Obviously, Trinity and Deanna are going over. They're going to be one of the headlining acts for Slammiversary. They are super pushing Trinity to be the face of the Knockouts division, and as we talked about last week with Impact YouTube views, the always reliable metric for viewership. Trinity is doing very well for the company, at least in terms of like immediate notoriety. Most of her individual videos have gotten significant play. Like the recent one that they have posted on June 1st has 100,000 views on it. No one else has that much since that video came out. So clearly, there's a desire to see her. The going back 10 days, the only video that has more views than it is Bully Ray putting Scott D'Amore through a flaming table. And to be clear, this is like an Impact clip with Trinity challenges Deanna Pratso. Like it's not even like a special clip, like outside of like the hoi polloi of like wrestling challenges. Like she didn't do anything crazy, she didn't do anything exciting. It was just very run of the mill, and it's the second highest video that they have in terms of viewership over the last 10 days.
That's like I said, it was a great pickup to see somebody that's hard to hate. I don't, it's hard for somebody specifically with that smile and just her disposition in general. She's a perfect face, and the way things are going, even though she's been making saves at this point, Grace could damn near be a face. I mean, a heel for everything that's been happening, and obviously Deanna, she's kind of feels like she's in the middle right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Trinity is definitely face, and they should definitely lean into that, which they are. And like you said, they're definitely getting the win there because Giselle and her squad have been picking up wins on the weekly show, but they are not the main focus here. Main focus is classic wrestling thing where we team up opponents before the big show, like they did. And it wasn't the last. I think it was the last decade when they did Batista and Taker versus Cena and Shawn before. Man, that was great.
So, with that said, let's take a look at Hendry and Dango. They're next up for the Impact Digital Media Championship. This will be a rematch from the last one, Under Siege. I don't see Hendry losing this belt anytime soon, at least not to Dango, of all people. The only time I could see them moving on from Joe Hendry is either if, one, he's done with the company, which I don't see happening anytime soon, or two, if they want to move him up the ladder, so to speak. Because I think Joe Hendry is one of those names that should be one of their quote-unquote 4 pillars to build around. He's the perfect blend of in-ring action and personality. So I'd like to see him continue to move up the ladder. I think he beats Dango here. I think it'll be a fun match, but I don't think it's going to be anything that you'll tell your kids about.
I don't think it'll be Hendry and Moose, but I think it'll be serviceable enough. But yeah, like you, I can't see him unless we get some like deep cheating behind a ref's back or something. He catches him slipping, which is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But much like you, I wouldn't take this belt off off um,
The Hendry.
the Hendry. No, I wasn't even a Hendry guy, and then I've been slow to but surely getting onto the wagon. And I think he's been the best thing for that digital media championship because I didn't care about that championship at first, but I think he's been the best thing for it.
Agreed.
Certainly of the people that they've had, and yeah, he should be there for a while. But losing it to Dango, like Dango, don't like him that much.
Then we got Eddie taking on Frankie. Eddie Edwards versus Kazarian. I'm excited for this one. I don't know what the end game is with this. It might be just a stopgap, or it might be some type of big showdown at Slammiversary. Because over the last few years, Slammiversary has been the show where either you get new talent debuting for a few years, or you get one night returns. And I feel like if you're going to do like a multi-man reunion match of sorts, whoever that may be or however you may do that, like, it could be like an Ultimate X match. It could be a Six Sides of Steel match, although I don't think they'd bring in a six-sided ring for one opponent, but they should. Like whatever they decide to do with this, I think this is going to be like their celebration, anniversary type of match because Eddie's been in the company for 9 years. And Kazarian debuted with the company 10 years ago this week, I think they said.
Nice.
So like they've both been around for a long time. Impact's been their home for a long time, even though Kazarian left in 2014 and was gone for about 8 or 9 years. He was still with the company for just about a decade prior. He was with the company from 03 to 05 when he went and signed with the WWE. And allegedly, he refused to cut his haircut when he was with FCW or OVW or Deep South, or what, I think it was Deep South. And they didn't like that, so they released him. And then he came back to Impact, I think, in 06 or 07. One of those two. So he's been around. And I've loved having him, and I loved having him back, and I think this is going to be a real fun match. I think Frankie goes over because they got Frankie from AEW. They signed him from AEW. So I feel like they want to do him right, and I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to do that. Marcus, what do you think?
100% agree. And Eddie's a guy right now who doesn't necessarily need the win. Although special requests, I'd be like, man, bring back the I Am the Fire just for this little anniversary situation. Um, but that's more so a request, just so I can sing along with it. Now that's an interest music I want to sing along to. But yeah, only the main winners here are going to be the fans, and yeah, but I definitely think the Zaren's going over. Yeah, unless Lish comes out and does something.
That could very easily happen, truthfully. Lish is someone that you can't count out. Because if you count her out, she's gonna fuck you up. Speaking of fucking you up, Chris Bay and Ice Austin are the ABC, and they're taking on the good hands, Hotch and Skyler. I know Hotch and Skyler have their fans, and they're solid workers, but there's nothing about them that makes me go, God, I need to spend money to see these fuckers. There's just not. While Ace and Bay, on the other hand, might be the two most talented and best athletes on the roster.
Yep.
So you're not going to fuck around with Ace Bay. The Ace Bay Club, if you will. And you're not going to fuck around with that and risk this run that could be pretty transcendental. The only group outside of the Motor City Machine Guns I want to see take the belts off of the ABC is Subculture. But I don't know how long they're sticking around. Because they're pretty dope, and I love the fact that like the three of them represent different forms of alt music. Like what do they say? Mark Andrews is like a mod. Granted, I don't think Marcus you would get mod music.
Yeah, yeah, I don't get the term, so I'm right there with you.
Well, no, I do. It's kind of like if you've ever seen postmodern groups that try to look like the Beatles, where like they wear like suits and whatnot, but they're from like 2020. That's the mod vibe. Morgan Flash Webster is pop punk, I think they said, and the lady whose name escapes me is straight punk. So I was like, that's pretty dope. I like that. So yeah, outside of those two groups, I don't see ABC losing anytime soon. So I got them winning. Marcus, I think you concur.
Absolutely. Do you think maybe down the line, unless they keep going with the situation, that they'd talk about a team that they put together that could potentially beat them? Yeah, Bailey and Gresham.
If they put Bailey and Grisham in an actual tag team, I think they can beat them. only because those two dudes make me think of AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels from '06 so hard. So like if they went that route, yeah, I could absolutely see them going over and beating them.
Or when they threw Styles and Angles together that time,
Mm-hmm.
was a dream team right there.
I think more Daniels than Styles at the moment because Styles and Angle are much bigger names
Yeah,
in 2012 than Styles was in '06 and Daniels in '06. And I think Styles and Daniels were at their peak in '06, but they weren't at the peak with their name value yet. And that tag run helped them establish that name value. And I think you're going to see that if they do Gresham and Bailey as a tag team going forward for at least like 6 to 12 months. I think you're going to see the same elevation from those two. But what they need to keep doing is focusing on the work rate, real, and that's the one thing I'll give them credit for. Like every turn they have, they seem to have like a big work rate guy involved in something major. Like you have Gresham and Bailey at the guns. I don't think Macklin's a dynamic worker, but he's not a bad worker. You're not going to think, oh my God, he's Kurt Angle. But you're not going to sit here and think, oh my God, he's Snitsky.
that's a hell of a middle.
Yeah, right? You got to establish the middle. To be fair, Snitsky's not a bad worker, but he's not Angle. So it's like Angle or Kali. Macklin's right in the middle. He bumps and sells well. He's not very dynamic, and he doesn't have the most unique arsenal, but what he does well enough, and he has a charisma about him that is truly violent.
Yeah, and he will make you want to punch him in his face while he's sleeping.
Mm-hmm. And like he does a great job with not being the cowardly heel. Like he doesn't avoid fights.
I love that. I'm a sucker for that too. Like he has minions. But he's like, okay, you killed my minions. I guess I gotta throw hands with you.
It's not even like that. I feel more like Thanos, where he's like, fine, I guess I will do it myself. Like he's bored. That's why he has minions, not because he's scared, but he's bored.
You said when somebody like a Scarlet Witch shows up, he was like, Glaive, rain, fire, but sire the troops, do it now. I'm fucking losing.
I need to rewatch that movie. At least both those movies. Killer Kelly's taking on Masha Slamovich in a dog collar match. Killer Kelly was a heel, and they kind of forced her into being a face, and I don't mind that so much. I don't know what the end game is though for these two.
Yeah, like we're not gonna bet. We're not gonna make the good guy the Russian.
Not today. And the thing is, like, this dog collar match, I think, is a wonderfully twisted idea. And I really can't wait to see how this goes. Masha Slamovich, I think, is probably the best knockout on the roster in terms of all-around talent and potential. She's one of the best workers they got, one of the best personalities they got. She has an aura about herself. And truthfully, I don't know if they should have had Jordan Grace beat her. Especially with Grace leaving the company, at least a free agent at the moment. She may return. But, if AEW throws her a fat money deal, I think she's taking it.
I mean, what's it called? She punked Bully Ray and then joined him.
Right.
I mean, she's great, and she's also one of those rare characters where she doesn't speak English, and because of how she is with it, I don't need her to.
And the thing is, I don't know, I've watched a lot of Killer Kelly's wrestling. I don't know if I've seen her in a promo, but she's Portuguese, and I don't know how good her English is.
Yeah, but again, you got to give kudos to Impact. When's the last time you seen a dog collar match between two women in the States?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that. It's been a while, if ever. This might be the first in history.
So and now that the thing about it, to your point, they damn near could have did that with her and Grace if they kept going with it. But you're right, it is a weird thing because it's like they got these like two things. Like she can't beat Grace and Grace can't beat Peraza. So I feel like at this point it's like 1 in 5 between Grace and Deanna.
I think you're right. The last dog collar match that I can remember was the Brody Lee Cody one, but I think CM Punk and MJF did one.
Yeah, I'm talking about specifically. I don't think I've seen that with women.
Right. No, and I agree. I mean, in general, I think the last one that we saw was CM Punk and MJF.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely was. We definitely seen dog collar matches in recent memory. But with women, I'm like, they may have did one during the Divas era, but it was not for a violent implication.
I don't even think they did one during the Divas era. That's something that I think we can look up and try to find out.
That sounds like something they would have did between Tori and Dawn Marie during that whole daddy storyline. But
Yeah, if they didn't, thank God, and if we can forget about that angle, more the better. Trey Miguel takes on Chris Sabin for the X Division title match. Wait, who are we picking in the dog collar? I'm going with Masha.
I'm going with Masha, man. She could use the win. I want to see Masha get the win.
Trey versus Sabin for the X Division title. Who do you got?
I, I wanted to be saving. I like. I'm a trade guy, but I'm like, look, man, I'm kind of tired of seeing that staple championship be the face. I get it. It goes along with the gimmick. Um, but I would also like to see because this is also the one with Shelly on it
What do you mean?
with Macklin at the end, right?
Yeah, and the main event. Yeah.
Yeah, because I want them to get them big wins on the same night, but I don't know if that's how it's gonna go. But I want to go with Saban here, because we both agree it's time for a new champion, and if you're gonna go with somebody when it's gonna mean something. Because Trey's been having a hell of a run in terms of matches. Like he hasn't, you know, one of those champions like, oh, he never defends it. No, he defends it. But yeah, it's time, man, and that 9-time thing, that's a big deal. I don't necessarily think he needs to do another promo where he says 9 times, but
I liked the nine times for the one time they did it.
yeah, there it is.
And for some clarification, this will be the third dog collar match in Impact history. The first was Raven versus Abyss in '05.
That's right.
So, yikes. That was a good one, though. And then
Yeah.
there was technically a second one, though it wasn't called a dog collar match. It was called a demon collar match because it was Sue Young versus Rosemary.
Okay.
And I did find a few others in the history of wrestling that involved women. I think there's at least been three. In 2017, Dust defeated or took on, I don't know who won. Dust took on Shotzi Blackheart at Rise 3. That's the Rise was the name of the promotion. Then there was a second one involving Mickey Knuckles, who was in Impact and was supposed to be a pretty big deal in Impact, but she broke her leg. If you remember her at all, I think they're calling her Moose. I think Moose Knuckles or something like that. Something very inappropriate.
Oh wow.
Let's see. TNA 2008. Knuckles made her debut. The Beautiful People, signed an official contract. Later that week, she broke her leg. I think she was known as Moose at the time.
Not Moose Knuckle. Come on.
I don't think it was Moose Knuckle. Although it was Vince Russo booked era.
Yeah.
So
That's starting to fall. Dominoes are starting to fall.
right, like if it was gonna be any era, it was gonna be that era. And she's been really active since like 2008 when Impact released her. So like, I kind of always wanted her to have another shot. So she was just known as Moose. That's it. No Knuckles. No Knuckles. So Moose took on Maria Maniac, and that was Teddy Hart's girlfriend. I don't know if they're still dating. That happened at Resistance GFW 3. Death Becomes Her Female Deathmatch Tournament. I think that's the whole name. That was in 2018. And then the last one involving two women was Lady Poison versus Portia Perez in 2011 at ACW's Guilty by Association. And Portia Perez is one of those names that I don't think enough people will truly ever recognize as being the talent she was. She ended up having to retire 2014 due to like neck issues, I think.
Yeah.
And she was fantastic. She should have absolutely been like the next big thing. She had like the perfect like Powerpuff Girl look that like would really hit well with modern audiences, and she's super smart. I think she's going for her doctorate now. So she was one of those names that I was super excited about to see make the transition from the indies to the majors, but never happened. That Shimmer squad back in the mid 2000s, very few things were like it. Jesus, they were fantastic. But yeah, so those were the women's collar matches that we can remember. I'm going with Chris Sabin because I'm done with Trey Miguel. Unless they bring in Myron Reed and Zachary Wentz, I don't really care if they keep Trey Miguel. I'm gonna say it. You don't need to agree with me. That motherfucker's mid. As an in-ring worker, he's not great. He's fine. He's not bad. I'm not gonna sit and be like, oh yeah, he's trash. No, he's not. He's not. But he doesn't do anything that goes, you need to keep him for this reason. His look is generic. He's a dude with tattoos he's rude. He's a rude dude with attitude. He's a Ninja Turtle without the excitement. So don't ever book him as champion again. Like move on from him. You have John Gresham and Speedball, and you're putting the belt on Mid Miguel. Stop it.
That's gonna be a thing.
Ugh. Marcus, I can't stand the genericness of Trey Miguel. And the thing is, like, one day he's going to go from the company and end up in, like, AEW or NXT or whatever, and everyone's going to be like, I can't believe Impact released him. And I'm going to be like, guys, you only like him because he's new. Wait 4 or 5 years.
Man.
He's Miguel. Mid Miguel.
Mid Miguel right there with Mid Cardona.
He's Midderman. With the meh
he's
powers.
not a mediator, he's a midiot.
He's a midiot. Yeah, I don't need to see Trey Miguel wrestle another match in my life. I am good. Sabin, though, should win. We then got the 8-4-1 match. We got Bully Ray, John Gresham, Heath, and Nick Aldis. Speaking of mid, hey, it's Heath. Taking on Mike Bailey, Moose PCO, and Rich Swann. So here's how this goes. Bully Ray can't really bump anymore. That was like a huge thing like 4 or 5 years ago. He's like, I can't take bumps anymore or I'm going to die. So that's why you never see Bully Ray take big bumps anymore or like any moderate bumps because he can't. Heath, as previously mentioned, is like right there with Trey Miguel in the meh territory of things. PCO is a lunatic. Love to watch him wrestle, but he doesn't wrestle well. I don't want him as world champion, so he's gone. Moose is apparently going to be leaving the company soon if he can find a contract better than what Impact is offering. And frankly, I think he should. I think he's stagnated in Impact. I don't really know which way to go because I don't want him as champion over Nick Aldis. And frankly, Moose's promos aren't really that great to carry anything other than like a headlining role with some super investment in him. Heck of a hand, really talented. But I think Moose is. I really think he's just expired at this point. I think like it's time to like maybe bring him back in a few years, but like let him stretch his legs elsewhere. Maybe he can come up with a new character or a new gimmick that makes him relevant again.
Yeah, it's one of them things where I'm right behind you because to me he's peaked in the company.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen him go from where he was in Ring of Honor to, uh, big face coming in, and then we've seen him with the Grand Championship, and then he really overall not only his look, but his presentation and all that, and his demeanor and his character in general, to eventually become world champion, and then that was the whole thing, and that was great. And then after that, he had some stuff, but other than that, he's kind of, like you said, he's been middling and not really having anything footing wise. And I think a lot of that has to do with we've seen him pretty much do everything. And at this point, he's just another bully on the card. That's a bigger guy. So I think, like you said, I think a break would probably be good. But I think both sides have been good to each other for years. And but I think, yeah, like you said, he could use a break. I don't know if anybody's going to offer him more than what Impact's offering. I don't know if they're looking for somebody like Moose, but you never know.
I feel like Moose would do very well with a dramatic character shakeup. I mean, remember when he was wrestling with the bandana like right above his eyes, and he's always coming out in, like purple and pink and yellow? If you take that, like that general look, and you turn him into like an upbeat, positive, motivational fitness guru, I think you'd have something there. But I don't know if he has the desire to stretch his character range that far. And that's kind of the issue that we have with Moose is he's not a great talker and he's not someone that I think is overly dynamic. So what you can do with him as a character is very limited. And that's part of the concern I have with Moose going forward with Impact is he needs a dramatic character shakeup to make him relevant again. Because all he's ever been is slightly left from center or slightly right from center. He's never been dramatically one way or another. And that's been what's holding him back. And I don't know if he has that next gear. So I think letting him go and tour the Indies for a while or maybe wrestle in Noah or New Japan if he can get in, that's the way to go. So thinking of that in mind, Swan's going to be involved with Sammy Callahan going forward. There's clearly a storyline there. They've already done PCO for the title. So like Mike Bailey's the only one from the 841 side of the things from that second group that makes sense to wrestle for the title. And I don't think they're going in that direction either, at least not at this juncture. Then you have Bully Ray, John Gresham, Heath, and Nick Aldis on that side. Bully Ray's not going in, but you have a lot better chance with Gresham and Aldis than you do anyone else on the other side. So I think that's the side that wins. The first set of the 841 is Bully, John, Gresham, Heath, and Nick Aldis. Who do you concur?
100%.
So now the real question is, now that we've both sided with the first group of names, are you going with Gresham or Aldis to main event Slammiversary?
Go with the head, not the heart, and go with Aldis.
Makes the most sense.
If he's done with his Kenny King of it all.
He is. He even put over Kenny King on Impact this week.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
And then Sean or Sean. Well, who's the gentleman that came out with Kenny?
Yeah. I don't exactly know his name, but yeah.
Sean. So I think Aldis will go over as well. And who's going to be facing Aldis at Slammiversary? It's going to be Steve Macklin, unfortunately. But Steve Macklin's taking on Alex Shelley in the World Championship match against all odds. I don't see Shelley winning. I want if Shelley does win. That would be awesome. Shelley is someone who's even at like 40 or 41 is someone I would still put some significant mileage into as a world champion because I think he could be very special with his promo skills, his personality, and his wit. I think you could really elevate him up the card, so to speak, and I think you could actually have a great feud with Shelley and Sabin against one another that would carry you into Bound for Glory, allowing you to not have to shove Josh Alexander back into the world title scene, which is more for my benefit because as much as I love Alexander as a wrestler, I am not missing his very middling promos. Yeah, I'm good. He's not mid Alexander like mid Miguel, or mid Slater, or mid Cardona, but I don't want Josh Alexander being a world champion in Impact anytime soon. I think Shelley's the perfect reprieve. It's not only because that he's got a great style, and that's the thing that I think people fail to realize. Like Josh Alexander coming out in like t-shirt and jeans, yeah, and then like the singlet, and the singlets are never all that impressive. Like Rob Van Dam had like some really dynamic, kick you in the face singlets, literally. But like Shelley has this punk rock vibe, this '80s super rock star vibe with his attire that I think really speaks to me. And like generally, like looking at the image that we have up, you have Bully Ray in a basketball jersey, his Bully Ray basketball jersey. You get Macklin in a coat and knee pads, and then you have Shelley and Sabin looking like they're headlining Warped Tour if Warped Tour was still a thing. So I think Shelley could really get over and really move the needle a bit for Impact as opposed to Macklin or even Aldis at this juncture. And I think building up to Aldis versus Shelley at Bound for Glory would be the choice way to go, and then have Saban and Shelley run the summer together.
That sounds perfect to me. And look again, having both these guys win on the same night and be like Motor City Machine Guns running the show for the first time separately. Uh, making history because again, the whole narrative with Shelley is he's the greatest Impact superstar to never be a world champion.
And it's time to break that moniker, if you ask me.
Yeah, and if you're gonna separate them as a team, make it matter.
Mm-hmm.
You can always get back to Macklin. Nobody would be more a pissed off nuisance. I mean, he damn near. It's weird all that build up he did with Josh Alexander and his nemesis is basically Demore at this point. Which he's made a thing, so they could turn that into a thing with him dropping the title because Demore's not done with him, and I doubt he's done with Demore. If you're putting your hands on him when you have the title, I know you're not gonna give a damn when you don't have it. Um, so yeah,
I think that's the way to go because then you could do like Macklin and Bully as a force against Demore, and that could be a storyline. Then you can move Sully and Shaven, and maybe you don't even have them feud with each other so much as you just have them run roughshod over the company as faces. Like have them beat ABC for the tag titles, and then like all the major singles and tag golds are with them. And then maybe like Joe Hendry pops up and tries to feud with them because he's like, I got the only belt you bitches don't have. Like you could have some fun with it. One of the things that Impact needs to do, and wrestling in general, they need to shift gears and go unique once in a while. Like have something that doesn't become standard. The heel champion that you try to unseat, or the 300-day reigning world champ. Like do something that will shock the senses. It should not be an everyday thing. That's what failed with Vince Russo. Some is good, more is better. No. What you need to do is figure out a way to generate interest by, going left when you're supposed to go right. When you zag instead of zig. And I think if you do that, you can bring some people in. I think having the machine guns at the top of the roster for the rest of the summer is that way to go. So do it, you bitches. All right, Marcus. Let's talk about Dominion. Dominion was this weekend. I didn't see all of it, but I did watch enough of it to have an opinion on some things. Apparently, in the Young Lion Hat Trick Challenge, whatever that is, I didn't see that. It's a dark match. Yuto Nakashima defeated Ryoi Oiwa, and Bolton Oleg defeated Oscar Loeb. There's the thing. The first match of the night was to determine a number one championship for the Forbidden Door event for the United States Championship. Will Ospreay defeated Lance Archer, meaning that Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega 2 will be happening, I think, at Forbidden Door 2. So that right there is kind of exciting. Marcus, I thought they had arguably the match of the year so far at, what was it, January 4th, the Dome show. So
hold on, what was who was the two?
It was Ospreay defeating Archer to win the number one contendership for Kenny Omega's U.S. title that he won at January 4th's Dome show.
Nice.
And Ospreay and Omega had arguably the best feud or the best match coming out of that event, and maybe still throughout 2023, even outside of New Japan.
Oh yeah, that match they had, yeah, that was sick because Omega came and got the title off him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was sick because that was one of those things where like you're good, kid, but you're not Omega good, and that match like he trying to kill each other in that match. I remember that. So coming back because we've had a lot of great matches since then, but yeah, that one specifically stuck because that was the top of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was that one hurt to watch towards the end of it, but yeah. So if they run that back, yeah, that'll definitely put him back in that zone that you talk about that he's kind of not been in since he left Japan. So, yeah.
And the second Forbidden Door show is going to be in Toronto this year, so kind of makes sense that they would have Ospreay and Omega in Canada. Speaking of just five guys lost to Los Ingobernables de Japón Tetsuya Naito, who really is seemingly done as a headliner in New Japan, teamed up with Shingo Takagi, Bushi, and Titan to defeat Taichi, your favorite wrestler, Doki, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Taka Michinoku by submission. Their group is the world champion, Sonata, but the five guys can't seem to do anything right, so that seems like a pretty weak stable. And considering you have Taichi, Doki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, it's not exactly like you have a dynamic group of guys. And the only reason I didn't include Taka Michinoku in that group is because he's still riding a high off of his time with Kai and Tai 25 years ago. Catch 2-2, Francisco Akira and TJP, defeated Intergalactic Jet Set, which is Kushida and Kevin Knight, by pinfall to become the new IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. So let's all pour one out for those belts because they're no longer relevant as long as TJP has them.
Yeah.
The new champs, Akira and TJP, are then beaten up by Dan Maloney and Clark Connors, who have now joined the Bullet Club.
I'll pour a cup up for those boys.
Speaking of pouring cups out, Zachary Sabre Jr. poured out Jeff Cobb all over the floor to retain the New Japan World Television Championship. Jeff Cobb and Zachary Sabre Jr., two names I really thought would be higher up the roster by this point. But they seem to be content with having them curtain jerk shows. Not curtain jerk shows, they're in the mid card, but still. Zachary Sabre is probably as talented as John Gresham and Bryan Danielson in terms of in-ring. And Jeff Cobb is just oodles of potential that they're just not utilizing. So it's disappointing. Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi defeated the House of Torture, Evil, and Yujihiro Takahashi, as well as the United Empire's Great Okan and Aaron Hinari, to win the IWGP Tag Team titles and Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. Afterwards, though, they're beaten up by Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd, the new Bullet Club War Dogs. So we got all sorts of Bullet Club madness. Alex Coughlin joined. Gabriel Kidd joined. What was his name? Hang on, I can find his name. Don't tell me. Dan Maloney. He also joined. Clark Connors didn't join. He's already been a part of the group. Misspoke about that earlier. Then we get the announcement of the G1 Climax Field. Mark, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the grouping so far is going to include 32 wrestlers. We have Kazuchika Okada, Naito, Sonata, Ospreay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Dave Finlay, Sota Umino, Takagi. I think I said that right. Tomohiro Ishii, Tamatanga, Tongaloa, Hikuleo, Goto, Yoshihashi, Toru Yano, Kenta, Zachary Sabre Jr., Daiichi, AEW's Eddie Kingston, El Phantasmo, Ren Narita, Evil, Chase Owens, Cobb, The Great Okan, Aaron Hinare, Gabriel Kidd, Alex Coughlin, Shane Haste, Mikey Nichols, Yota Tsuji, and pro wrestling known as Kaito Kiyomiya. I think I said that right. So only two big names from outside of the company. We have, of course, Eddie Kingston and now Kaito Kiyomiya. Kiyomiya? I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. Thoughts on the G1 Climax Field? Are you excited for it? Because obviously it's down to Okada. And like maybe probably Dave Finlay.
Yeah. Me being who I am, I'm George rooting for Goto and Tonga. But yeah, you're probably right on those picks. So yeah. I think it's a solid field. I think it definitely allows for you to get some guys in there who probably you wouldn't expect to get towards the end. So
They need to make sure that they make some stars off of this because a lot of their guys are getting up there in age. Like Naito's 40, Tanahashi's 46. They need to start elevating the profile of some guys. This is the perfect opportunity to do that. I would love a finals that has like Dave Finlay versus I don't know, Kaito from Noah. That would be interesting. Or maybe you do I want to see Tama. I do, but Tama's nearly 40 as well. So maybe El Phantasmo or Ren Narita, someone younger. I don't know how Chase Owens got in this. Like, honestly, I don't know how that dude sells a job in New Japan. I really don't. Speaking of doing the job, El Phantasmo did the JOB for the day Finley. Finley retained his never openweight championship, and then Hiromu Takahashi retained his IWGP Junior Heavyweight title by defeating Master Wato. I don't know why they don't just throw Master Wato and the Great Okan into a tag team. Their names really make it feel like they would be super good together. But what are you gonna do? In the semi-main event, you had Chaos, Kazuchika Okada, and Tomohiro Ishii not taking on, with, they are a six-man, Hiroshi Tanahashi, defeating John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli of the Blackpool Combat Club, and Shota Umino. This was not listed as a six-man tag title match, but I thought it was. Okada recorded a victory. Then afterward, Okada accepted a challenge from Bryan Danielson, who earlier in the night had challenged him to the Forbidden Door. So you have Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay at the Forbidden Door. And then you're going to have Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada at the Forbidden Door. Marcus, is this going to be the greatest show of all time?
Run that back, far back. Yeah, cut out.
Okada versus Danielson, Ospreay versus Omega. Greatest show of all time, Forbidden Door 2?
Yeah, it's shaping up to be there. I mean, those two matches alone, man. You don't you don't get those matches every day.
How do you feel about Danielson making his New Japan debut, so to speak, even though it's not going to be
In Japan.
yeah, and under the New Japan banner. But how do you feel about his first real big New Japan match being against Okada?
I dig it. I like, because didn't he fight Tanahashi?
Bryan Danielson?
Yeah,
Maybe with an AEW, maybe.
yeah. But I dig it. I like it. I think this run has really benefited him in the latter part of his career, because he's really gotten to turn things up. Really feel like doing his way, turn that aggression up, get back to that guy that so many people fell in love with, I guess, from his Ring of Honor days, which I missed. But uh, get back to that in a more hyper, uh, like I said, aggressive way with the Black Combat Club, and get challenges like Tanahashi and now Okada on one of the biggest stages. So I think it's brilliant, and I don't know anybody that'll turn down. I don't care if it's they done ran it 4 times already. Omega and Ospreay is two of the best you're gonna get, and that chemistry is unique. So those two matches alone make that show worth it. So
So I don't think Tanahashi took on Bryan Danielson, at least anytime recently.
okay, who did he
Now,
take? I feel
well,
like somebody came. There was a Minoru.
he took on Suzuki, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now, to be clear, he did wrestle in New Japan back in the day. He wrestled in New Japan from '02 to '04, but never out of anything involving the junior heavyweights. So, like, he wrestled Liger, Gato, and Jado when they were light heavyweight tag team champions. He was actually tag team partners with Curryman. We all remember Curryman, the iconic Curryman, Konichiwa. He's hot and he's spicy. Honestly, if Daniels just spent the rest of his career doing that, that'd be awesome. He also took on Kenta back in the day when Ring of Honor was working with Noah. Bryan Danielson was wrestling for Noah overseas for a while and actually won the Pro Wrestling Noah junior heavyweight title. Who did he beat for that? Let's see, that's the wrong era. Here we go. Bryan Danielson defeated Yoshinobu Kanemaru to win the belt. Held it for 29 days and lost it back to Kenta. Not Kenta Kobashi, but Kenta Kobayashi, the smaller Kenta, who's in New Japan currently. So, the more you know. Do, 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 do. Apparently, according to Hiroshi Tanahashi, he did wrestle with Bryan Danielson once in his youth. I don't know when that was, but he just said that. Nope, didn't just say it. He said that last April. So I don't know when that match happened, Marcus, but it did happen. So, but I can't find it for the life of me.
All right.
So that said, let's move on. Main event was Sonata versus Yota Tsuji. I think I'm saying that right. Yota has been around for a little while, but I wouldn't say he was anyone worth headlining Dominion against. Especially not when Sonata's supposed to be the next guy, like the next huge name for your group. So that's
Yeah.
that's disappointing. Marcus, any thoughts on Dominion?
That's always one of my more preferred shows. It's always one of New Japan's better shows. I think it was solid, but it's probably one of the weaker ones. I had to throw it out there.
All right, so I think I found when they may have wrestled. It was in 2004. It was. Where the hell was it? All right, it was okay. So it's even funnier. Tanahashi defeated Bryan Danielson on the October 24th, 2004 New Japan Soko Yoko R Tokon Series Tag 10 Strong Conviction in Kobe event. It was in Kobe, Hyogo, Japan at the World Hall. Brought in 6,000 fans, and Tanahashi defended his U30 openweight title against the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. The U30 was a short-lived belt that was supposed to help raise the profile of younger wrestlers, but only two people held it: Hiroshi Tanahashi for over 600 days, and then Shinsuke Nakamura before he had to vacate it, and then Tanahashi held it again for 354 days. So that was a whack-ass title. So there's if you look it up on Google, you can probably find the video of it. It does exist. It's on Reddit. I don't have a Reddit account, but you don't need an account to check out the matches. So yeah, check it out. That said, Marcus, any final thoughts on Dominion before we move on to the Crockett Cup?
No.
Very matter of fact. I appreciate that. All right, the Crockett Cup was this weekend. We will run through all the relevant stuffs. I'm not going to go through who everyone is unless they're relevant, so just accept that. They had literally 9 dark matches on the first night, so that's hell. Maybe don't do it all in one night or 2 nights. Maybe break it up a bit. And by the look of the photographs, it doesn't look like it was a well-attended event. So we'll see. Maybe it was. Maybe it's just the angle of the photo. I do not know. That said, here's the results. Magnum Muscle, Dax Draper and Mims defeated the Spectaculars. The Outrunners defeated Daisy Kill and Talus. Eric Jackson and Jeremiah Plunkett. And the Miserable Faithful. The Warriors from the Wasteland, which is Judas and Max the Impaler. I think this is the only intergender tag match on the card, though Max the Impaler is a they-them person. So, there you go. They defeated now Hale Collins and Vic Delicious. Those are very old-school indie names if you've been following wrestling for any length of time. Flippin' Psychos, Flip Gordon Fodder with Angel and Love defeated Sent to Slaughter with Dan Maff and Sean Donovan. SVGS, Jax Dane, and Blake Bulletproof Troop defeated TNT, Terrence Hughes, and Terrell Hughes. Those are the sons of Devon Dudley, for those of you who didn't know. You would think that they would have been given a rub considering their reputation and their development, but nope. What are you going to do? The Brothers of Funstruction, Yabo the Clown and Ruffo the Clown. Really? Fucking Christ. defeated the Fixers, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball Legurski. They were just NWA United States Tag Team Champions, so to see them get bounced in the first round really highlights just how poorly booked this company is. Los Vipers, Aries and Toxin defeated the Heat Seekers, Elliot Russell and Matt Sigmund. The Immortals, Kratos and Odinson defeated Brian Brock and Magic Jake Dumas. Odinson and Pero were known as the End for a while, but apparently Odinson has gone his separate ways from Pero, and now he's teaming up with Kratos. They were also known as the Gods at one point. I think they got a decent look. I think they got a decent gimmick, so let's see what they can do as a tag team. The Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum defeated Idolmania Sports Management, which was Scion and Jordan Clearwater. Jordan Clearwater should be in the main event scene. I don't know why he's not. Again, poorly booked company. Starting the show off right, apparently, Bullet Force Trauma, Carnage and Damage with Aaron Stevens defeated the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. Marche Rocket is Carnage and Damage is Rodney Mack, for those of you interested. The Immortals defeated the Country Gentlemen of AJ Kazanza and Andrew Anthony's. Joe Alonzo defeated Alex Taylor in a singles match, with the winner going to the 6-match scramble. I feel like you didn't need to add a random singles match for this card, but whatever. The Mortons defeated the Los Vipers, that's Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton. The Brothers of Funstruction defeated Cut Above, which is Tom Latimer and Rhett Titus. I don't know why they had like an entire first-round set of matches when they didn't even need to do so, because so many of these are already second-round matches. I don't understand that. This is a stupid-ass company with stupid-ass booking philosophies. I shouldn't even question it. Gentles Dil LRE, which is Mysticis Jr. and Octagon Jr., defeated SVGS. Ruthie J, Samantha Starr, and M95, which is Maddie and Missa Kate, defeated Pretty Empowered, Ella Envy, Kenzie Page, Kylie Page, and Roxy. Knox and Murdoch defeated Magnum Muscle by pinfall. They advanced. The Midnight Runners defeated the Warriors from the Wasteland, which is Tyrus and Chris Adonis, defeating Judas and Max the Impaler. In the NWA National Heavyweight Championship match, EC3 defeated Thrillbilly Silas Mason by pinfall. And then in the main event, to close out the second round, Loud Rebellion defeated the Flippin' Psychos of Flip Gordon and Fodder. So, yeah. Then we have another 4 pre-show matches on night 2. The Country Gentlemen won the gauntlet match to retain the NWA United States Tag Team titles. Thrillbilly Silas Mason defeated Dan Maff. The M95 defeated Angelina and Max the Impaler for the NWA World Women's Tag Team titles. Ruthie J defeated Kenzie Page, and that starts the show. That was for the NWA Women's Television title. Kenzie Page was champion. Now she's not. Gentes Del Aire defeated the Brothers of Funstruction to start the quarterfinals. Knox and Murdoch defeated the Mortons in the second quarterfinal match. In the third quarterfinal match, the Midnight Riders defeated the Immortals. And then in the last quarterfinal match, Bullet Force Trauma defeated La Rebellion. Then we had EC3 retaining his NWA National Championship by beating Thom Latimer. There you go about that. In a 7-way scramble match to determine the number 1 contender for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship, the returning Colby Carino defeated Flip Gordon, Eric Jackson, Joe Alonzo, Gags the Gimp, James Fulton, and PJ Hawks by pinfall. Blunt Force Trauma defeated Gentes Del Aire to move on to the finals, and then Knox and Murdoch defeated the Midnight Riders of Tyrus and Adonis to secure their final spot. The Masked Mystery Man, because again, this company is booked so fucking poorly. Who is that? Who cares? We have like 60,000 masked men. It doesn't matter. We never find out who they are. Defeated Scion by TKO. And then Camille defeated Natalia Markova to retain the NWA World Women's Championship. Apparently this match was supposed to be a banger, so check that out. And then in the main event to win the Crockett Cup, Knox and Murdoch defeated Blunt Force Trauma by pinfall. I do think it's odd that Marche Rocket, a former Impact wrestler, and Rodney Mack, who is well into his mid-50s, sorry, early 50s, he's 52, were the choice to go up against Knox and Murdoch, who is... Murdoch is 42, and Knox is 44. Marche might be the youngest dude in this roster on this main event. How old is Marche Rocket? Marche is 38. So did the NWA build any young talent off of this? Nope. Do we have Knox winning a cup for some reason? Yep. Was this a show that I would highly recommend? Well, I haven't watched it yet, but I have to imagine with how long it is and how dumb it is with its booking, I would say not. Marcus, did any of this card, any of it at all, seem like something you want to take a look at?
Maybe the women's match you mentioned, but that's about it. A lot of these names are like, I don't know, just weird. And then, like you said, a lot of this stuff just seemed like it didn't need to go on the card, but they needed to fill stuff out. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not great. I will say this: the NWA does have some really good young talent. I do like Colby Carino. I think he's a real gem. Who else they got? PJ Hawks is solid. Kerry Morton's kid. Oh no, Kerry Morton. That is the kid. Ricky Morton's kid Kerry is really good. The women's roster is surprisingly very deep, even if they don't have the name value that other companies have. I think the Immortals, specifically Odinson's got a great look. They really have a roster that could be popping if used better, and if they were focused on more. Like I don't have a problem with Knox and Murdoch going over, but you could have had like a young tag team, slide in and try to be that group, that team that they beat, but they didn't. Instead, they're relying on 40-year-old EC3, who hasn't been relevant since he left Impact in 2018. It's really just it's really just a group of guys that share political ideologies that are hanging out together now. So, the NWA is what it is. Whatever Billy Corgan was trying to do with it in 2018, it's no longer that. If you're building shows around Tyrus, like I'm good. And I know like he says he doesn't bring his politics into wrestling, and some people are like, so like why do you have an issue with him? It's not the political thing that bothers me about Tyrus. AJ Styles is far more political and far righter than Tyrus is on the spectrum. But we like Styles. Why do we like Styles and not Tyrus? Styles is hella entertaining in the ring. He's stupid talented. Tyrus is just stupid. He's slow. He's plotting. And like it's not even like he's 400 pounds, and he moves like he is. Like it's not like when you were watching Bam Bam Bigelow back in there, where the dude was 330 and doing cartwheels. Tyrus moves throughout the ring like he is about to go extinct.
Just there's a clip. Go watch. You know how people listen. You know how when people come off top rope and they know they're not gonna hit their move, so they hit the mat and do a tuck and roll. Tyrus came off the top rope and failed at rolling. It was bad.
Wasn't even the top rope. I feel like it was like the bottom rope.
Yeah, I think it might have been a second. Let's give him a second. But like,
I'm looking it up right now.
he make Top Dollar look like Jeff Hardy.
That's pretty fucking bad. Apparently, when he beat Adonis, who is the former Chris Masters, Tyrus did some fuckery. He just landed on him. Like he just like so he was in the corner and Masters climbed the top rope, and then not he didn't climb the top rope. Adonis climbed the ropes behind him to try to get him in the hold, and Tyrus just leaned back and pinned him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not great.
The level of the idiotic imagery that came in my head on both sides.
Yeah, it's not great. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. Tyrus NWA meme. Can we find it? No, we can't. I'm not going to spend 6 hours looking for a meme of Tyrus. I will just say that they got some talent on that roster that they need to cultivate, and they're not doing it. So if Impact wants to sign guys like Jordan Clearwater, Colby Carino, who else did I say? Kerry Morton, go for it. I think that would work. Otherwise, fuck this company.
Is Pope still there?
Yes, I think so, but not as a commentator. D'Angelo De Niro. I want to say he wrestled this year for them. Let's see. He has not wrestled this year for them, so he may be done with the company. He wrestled 12 matches last year for the NWA, and his last match came in November. Let's see. The Pope leaves the NWA. Yeah, I shouldn't say the Pope. I should say the Pope with a DA. Says he still wrestles for them, but I don't see anything about it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything about him leaving, but he also hasn't wrestled for them, so he's 42, so I think he'd be a great world champion for them, but what do I know? I don't know much, apparently. Marcus, any final thoughts on this week's show?
No, you want to say you hope they'll get it together, but with the guy that's leading it and then the guy that's the emblem on the car, if you will, and tires, it's like I think they lost that. I think they lost the narrative a long time ago.
They have a very plotting product, and it's not going to be helped by Billy Corgan. So with that said, let's wrap it up. You can find us on the website at realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. Marcus is on Twitter at Paradox. Wait, no. We have a Twitter account. It's NERDCRP. Marcus can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find me. You can also find him on his other podcast account, the not podcast account, just podcast show at the True Prentice Show on Twitter. It's TRUEPENYSHOW. Check that out. That's good stuff. You can find me on Twitter, Chad Nerdcorp, CHED, NERDCRP, and on the Instagram, Chad's Photo Hut. We're also on the website once again at realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCRP.com. For Marcus Green, I'm Chad Portal. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, always to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good